Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for You. I'm going to be doing my Ultimate Fighter Finale 21 post-fight analysis. Overall, actually not a bad card. Definitely one of those, it's kind of how I thought it'd be, you know. Some fights would be just alright. Other ones are, actually, a lot of them were pretty good though. Definitely one of those, sleepers, I guess, you know. You got the highlight reel knockout from Thompson. Good amount of finishes too. Usman, Masvidal, Waterson, Blanco, Salman, Gates all got finishes. So just a good night of fights. Especially coming out after UFC 189. I mean, it's not going to compare to that, but actually, it's pretty solid nonetheless. My picks, not too bad, 6 out of 11. I'm kind of in this slump right now where, like, I'm getting higher than 50%, but just higher than 50%. It's not like I'm missing, like, 1 or 2 or maybe even 3. It's like, it seems to be a little more than that these days. But that's a fight game, really. Bonuses: Stephen Thompson, Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal, and Jocelyn each earned $50,000 bonuses for their performances. So I got performance of the night. Let's get started. Stephen Thompson defeated Jake Ellenberger by knockout. Is with a spinning wheel kick and follow-up punches in the first round. You know, Ellenberger managed to drop Thompson early, but after that, one thing that was really interesting is that Thompson managed to out-muscle Ellenberger. It really goes to show Thompson's improvement in the stand-up or in the wrestling department. He actually didn't get like a body lock takedown. He slammed him at one point, I think. So he's been greatly improving his grappling, both offensively and defensively. I believe he's training with Chris Weidman these days. And Jake Ellenberger, man, this was his 40th pro MMA fight. He started fighting at April 2005. 10-year mark. I mean, for most fighters, that's like the cutoff, pretty much. If not even sooner, where skills start to decline. I really do feel that Ellenberger is just on the decline these days. Can't take a hit well. He can't pull the trigger very well. Hasn't really been improving very much. I don't think his switch in camps at Glendale Fighting Club did him any good. He's just not like... He's really inconsistent. He seems mentally not all there to just during the fight, you know. Like I said, he's afraid to pull the trigger and whatnot. I don't know what it is with him. I think it's a combination of... I personally think that it's just a combination of possibly the game. You know, fighters are getting better, but I think he is declining. So, Thompson doesn't get just one, but 2 spinning, is it spinning hook kicks or spinning wheel kicks? One of those. Crazy spinning strikes to finish off Ellenberger. He drops him one time. Ellenberger still manages to stay on his feet. Eats another one. It's all over. Highlight reel knockout for Stephen Thompson. And this guy has been greatly improving. You know, it's kind of funny in retrospect. It's like, oh, he lost to Matt Brown. Dude, Matt Brown's really good. It turned out that, hey, Matt Brown's this really good fighter. He is a top 10 guy. That is like one of the most respectable losses you can have, you know, especially during the stage of Thompson's career when he fought him. I believe this is like his second fight in the UFC. He had like next to no grappling whatsoever. And he lost, a lot of it was because he got taken down. one thing that's impressive about Thompson too, I say this about guys with traditional martial arts backgrounds and bases, is that they're very accurate. Watch Thompson's punches against Ellenberger. Almost like all of them hit the mark. Very clean. A lot of single strikes, but they're all clean and they're all very accurate too. You can actually watch the first Matt Brown, when he fought Matt Brown. Same thing actually. He was actually punching him clean, hard. A lot of single strikes though. With that said, Thompson is asking for a Matt Brown rematch. I'm down for that. If not, there's guys like Safadine, Dong Hyun Kim, maybe even the winner of Magny versus Maya. If you want to throw him against Gunnar Nelson, that works too. So, isn't Rick Story fighting Eric Silva? Winner of that fight versus Thompson works for me as well. Ellenberger. I don't know if this guy should call it a career or not. It's looking like it. It's just, I think he can still get wins in the UFC, but at this point, it'd be against some pretty low-level opposition. He can't fight top 15 guys at this point. I don't know if he beats like a Berkman, he just doesn't have it, It's just, the power's still there, He dropped Thompson. Technically, he's still there. It just, I don't know what it is. It seems really mental with him. If he wants to stay in the UFC, if they keep him, just give him some lower level welterweights. Maybe if he can make a cut to 155, it looks like it'd be kind of hard. Maybe he'd want to give that a shot. I don't know if he can, but yeah, any thought of him coming back in the top 10 is pretty much over at this point. Next fight after that, Kamaru Usman defeated Haider Hassan by arm triangle in the second round. This fight pretty much went how I thought it would. I figured that Usman would use his superior wrestling to take down Haider. I didn't actually think he'd get the finish by submission, but it's nice to see Usman. I believe all his wins were by KO or TKO. It's nice to see him get a submission victory so early in his career. It just goes to show that he's broadening his game just a little more, He is Bloody Elbow's top welterweight prospect in their 2015 prospect scouting report for good reason. The guy is huge for the weight class. Just he's so strong. Like you can see the height differential or the size differential with him and Hassan. He's so strong. He can take you down repeatedly, and he can work on the ground too. Stand up is actually great. It's improving. He still needs some work there, but it's also something that I think he's eventually going to pick up sooner rather than later. It's not even that bad right now. He has relatively solid stand up. There really isn't. There's a lot to like about Kamaru Usman and his prospects in the welterweight division. Just give him some more. Let's give the guy more cage time, really. I'd like to actually see him fight more grappling-based guys, simply because it might force him to work on his striking. So I would personally like to see that with him. You don't really need. He's only like 5-1, 6-1, 7-1, something like that. He doesn't have 10 fights yet. I don't even know if he has 7 fights yet, or if he just reached 7. I forgot. But I see really good things for Kamaru Usman. Haider Hassan, fun brawler. He's a guy that did really well on The Ultimate Fighter. Even in The Ultimate Fighter, I kind of noticed this too. He seems pretty small for 170. He does not seem that big. And if he can cut to 155, maybe he should, because guys the size of Usman are actually becoming more of the norm and not the exception. You know, Rory McDonald's huge for the weight class. Ryan LaFleur, Sultan Alev, Brandon Thatch. I mean, there's some huge guys in the weight class, and I can see all the some of these huge guys bully Hassan around just from the size difference. Usman's really skilled, and even if there wasn't this big size difference, then I'd probably still pick Usman. But a lot of fighters are just going to be a lot bigger than Haider Hassan. You might want to cut to 155. He's 32, but he doesn't have a lot of fights. So I don't see much as far as prospects in the UFC goes. I can see him at best being a fun action fighter, really, and that's kind of it with him. It's really cool that he did so well in the Ultimate Fighter. He got 3 wins in the Ultimate Fighter, all good fights, but yeah, in the UFC, I don't know if with full training camps and whatnot, I don't know if you can replicate that type of success. More lower to mid-tier guys of the division for him, and if he can cut to 155, he probably should. Next fight after that, Michael Graves defeated Vicente Luque by unanimous decision. Now, I was actually being told when I read some scouting reports on these guys, that, and this is actually a huge mistake I made, and big oversight with me. You never really want to go, unless that's the only source of footage you have, you generally don't want to assess a fighter's skill set when they're fighting on the Ultimate Fighter. I can go on, the short version of it is this. You have guys have to cut weight multiple times in short periods of time. They're fighting 2-minute rounds. A lot of times it's a 3-minute rounds. Changes the dynamic. They're not always with their... in this case, it's fine, but in other cases, they're not always with their original coaches. They're not home. They're in some house with their opponents. So, seeing Michael Graves on The Ultimate Fighter, it's like, well, he's not very good. But then, the fact of the matter is, he's not that bad. It just... The Ultimate Fighter... Some fighters just don't look good in The Ultimate Fighter. Well, other guys like Haider Hassan can look great in The Ultimate Fighter. And that's the other thing, too. There's a lot of X factors that help in The Ultimate Fighter, too. A guy with a lot of heart... Think Raquel Pennington, Calvin Gastelum, yada yada. I mean, they're just... Heart alone can get you far in The Ultimate Fighter. That's the thing. Michael Graves, didn't look very good, but he's a solid fighter. He can strike a little. His wrestling and grappling are solid. He's solid right now, relatively aggressive. So, he has a really good elbow off the clinch break. And just the fact that he always strikes off a clinch break, pretty advanced, actually. A lot of fighters don't do that. Even veteran fighters don't do that all the time. So, for a young fighter like him to have that wherewithal to do such a thing, and for it looks ingrained in him. It's pretty good, Definitely, just something that is good about his skill set, I suppose. Vicente Luque, I mean, he's a young fighter too. He kind of has a really disjointed MMA game in general. He likes to strike and stand in front of his opponent. And he'll throw in combination, which I like, but he just kind of wants to stay in the pocket all the time. And he just gets, like, taken down. You know, that's the thing. Like, there's so many opportunities that he kind of just gave Graves to take him down, you know. He showed great takedown defense on The Ultimate Fighter, and then you watch this fight, it's like he gets taken down over and over again. So once again, you can't always trust The Ultimate Fighter. Now, both these guys are still young. They still have a limited skill set. You know, I think there's some pretty good prospects with Graves. Vicente Luque, it's tough to say where he can go. If he's just going to be a fun action fighter or whatnot. They're so young guys, so, and they have potential for improvement. They both train at good camps. Just more lower to mid-level guys of the division for them. Expect that Jorge Masvidal defeated Cesar Ferreira by TKO, or I think it was KO, in the first round. I honestly feel this way. Cesar Mutanch Ferreira should retire from MMA. I really do feel that way. Hold on, let me get some light in here. Hold on one sec. Boom. Okay, yeah, there we go. So he should really retire from MMA. He got knocked out by Sam Alvey in his last fight. No shame in that. Then he beat Andrew Craig, and before that he got knocked out by C.B. Dalloway. The other thing with him, though, besides not just having a good chin, I mean, he gets knocked out. I mean, it's one thing to get, like, TKO'd where you're covering up and whatnot. He just gets flat out put to sleep. I mean, he goes limp and just gets put to sleep. I mean, and it's happened, three of his last 4 fights. That's not good, you know? And it's just not good for his health. You know, I think he could probably get wins in the UFC. Cesar Mutanch. But for the fact of the matter is, him, maybe even Ellenberger too, because he's a guy that looks like he's getting knocked out more and more as well. He got knocked out by Robbie Lawler. Stephen Thompson knocked him out. Martin Kampman knocked him out. And he's had a lot of fights. But Cesar Ferreira, it's just not good for his health because, man, he gets knocked out cold. He sucks at, like, it's so funny, you watch a fight, it's like, okay, he's in kicking range, it's good, he's looking pretty good. Once he gets, like, in the pocket, I always say this with Cesar Mutanch, he sucks at boxing range. I mean, it wasn't really boxing range that finished him, because that was a short elbow, and then, like, a follow-up punch, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it was obviously his falling, but, like, it's like he's only good at one range, and that's, like, kicking range. And, like, any other range that he's in, he's not good at. He's a decent wrestler. I was actually surprised he managed to get Masvidal down, but then he couldn't do it again. So it's about Masvidal, though. You know, he actually did an elbow, and then he struck in combination. So I kind of like that with Masvidal. Hopefully, I don't necessarily like that he's in lightweight because he looked like he came in at 172, but he managed to cut down the extra pound. But just physically, he looks soft. Like, you know, he has, you know, something of a belly there. It's not very. He doesn't look like super fit for the division. It's not like he's fat or anything. It's just that, like, he doesn't look like, he looks like a blown up lightweight to me. The trade-off, though, is if he can fix his volume and, you know, pretty much just fix his volume with his striking, because he doesn't have to worry about his cardio, then he has a really good skill set. His takedown defense is really strong. His ability to get back to his feet when he's taken down is really strong as well. I think the size disadvantage is going to affect him despite how good of a counter wrestler he is. If Cesar Matanz managed to take him down, I can see others doing it. Just on the basis of they're bigger than Masvidal. But, hey, he got the knockout. Last time he knocked a guy out was in 2009. So, hey, he got the results. He went up to welterweight, fought a big welterweight, who cut from middleweight, and knocked him out. So, I think he should get Lorenz Larkin next. I think that would be a fun fight. If not him, if Eric Silva beats Rick Story, Eric Silva and Masvidal would be cool. The problem with Masvidal, though, is those guys are pretty high up the ladder. I can't really think of guys like mid-ladder, somewhere around the middle that he can fight. I'd just like to see Masvidal in more stand-up fights, though. Just more fun action fights. Next fight after that, Michelle Watson defeated Angela Magana by rear naked choke in the third round. There's a small scare in the first round where Magana got the armbar, but Michelle Watson managed to get out of it and wrecked Angela Magana. Angela Magana honestly she just can't fight at this level. She's not particularly big for the weight class. She's pretty much there's a lot of atomweights that are fighting at the UFC strawweight division. But the thing is, with Magana, she doesn't have great skill. Her stand-up's pretty bad. It's just pretty bad. Her grappling's all right, but she's not a good wrestler. I can't see. I don't even know if she can really get wins in the UFC with how small the division is. Even. I can see her probably getting cut. Michelle Watson, she's got a good game. She has. She has good athleticism. That's one thing, and flexibility. So that really helps her. She can be pretty dynamic. Her striking's good. She punches well. She was actually pretty accurate against Magana. And her ground skills are really good too. It looks like she really was working on her wrestling, which is a good thing for her to work on. She's a relatively well-rounded fighter. I think she's going to be undersized. Obviously, she's going to be undersized for the division. Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Claudia Gadelha are huge for the weight class. There's more to come, Juliana Lima, she's pretty big for the weight class too, Randa Marcos, Aisling Daly, they're pretty big for the weight class too. So, I can see her get bullied, but nonetheless, she can have fun fights. She is a good fighter. She goes for high risk move, low percentage high risk moves a lot of times. She's going for arm bars and whatnot. So she's a fun fighter. Despite being, not the heaviest hitter or whatnot, she actually has a pretty decent finishing weight, right? Which is probably good for her because she is a smaller fighter. She's more susceptible to be getting hit hard than she can hit an opponent very hard, for example. Well, that was a weird example, actually. Nonetheless, I think Waterson versus Penne would actually be a good fight. If they fight again. She could fight like a Ronda Marcos or an Aisling Daly. I would imagine they're probably going to go with the Paige Van Zandt versus Michelle Waterson fight down the line. It's just such an easy sell, Who else can she fight? I guess there's like Marina Moroz or Albu. That would be Alexander Albu versus Waterson. Would actually be pretty cool too. There's a lot of good competition for Waterson to fight. I think she can get a good amount of wins in the UFC, but there's eventually that size difference is going to matter. But for the time being, she'll have fun fights, you know. With Magana, I can see her getting cut from the UFC. Actually, I thought Maximo Blanco defeated Mike De La Torre by TKO in 16 seconds first round. Yeah, I don't agree with that stoppage either, but it happened. And quite honestly, Maximo Blanco is at his scariest in like the first minute. You know, he's a guy though, like, watch the Akira Kurosani fight, for example. I mean, he just blitzes the guy. There's something about Maximo Blanco fights that are just weird. You know, I mean, even if it's not, he's not trying to do, if he's not committing fouls or something, you know, it's just weird. It's like, oh, cool, he got that nice punch, dropped him, you know. Oh, early stoppage, like, oh, that's kind of weird, you know. It's like, that's the thing with Maximo Blanco. It's just he has these really odd fights, you know, whether it's fouling, like constant fouling, or just something happens in his fights, or else it's like so slow paced, like against Brimage, but like the tumbling battle afterwards is really fun. You know, I mean, it's really weird with Maximo Blanco, really. It's so hard to say who should get next, too, you know? I'd just say more mid to lower level guys of the division. I mean, he's a good fighter, but, you know, it's so weird with him. He's really unreliable. I think that's the big thing with him, you know? He can get punches like that, you know? He can drop dudes. You know, Mike De La Torre is not some, like, glass chin guy, you know, but, dude, he can drop guys, like, pretty hard. He hits really hard. He can wrestle, you know. It's just, he can also commit many fouls and just have weird things happen in his fights. Just gets more mid-level guys in the division. Same with Mike De La Torre, really. Okay, on to that. Fox Sports 1 prelims. Jocelyn defeated Kyle Magalhães by rear naked choke in the first round. Unfortunately, Kyle decided to spit blood at Saman after the fight. You know, gotta wonder if there's gonna have a penalty to Kyle Magalhães because of that. If not even just getting cut, because, you know, Jason High got cut pushing a referee. Unless you have some sort of value to the promotion, and I don't think Kyle Magalhães necessarily does. That can be grounds to get cut. Maybe he'll get fined. So, that really classless and just not a good decision. I didn't pick this fight correctly. The thing with Saman, I like and I don't like. He's really athletic. He's a good wrestler. Striking's alright. One of the biggest problems is he has this style of, like, striking where he throws a lot of single kicks. And he's not the best boxer either. I mean, there were some times where Kyle Magalhães was just tagging him with, like, left hands. Once he managed to... It was kind of like a scramble situation, and then, he got the back and the rear naked choke. It was all over. Cause Josh Mann, he's a legit good grappler. And at this point, I believe he's on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC, right? Beat Kevin Casey, had the year off, then beat then trucked Eddie Truck Gordon, and now rear naked choke Kyle Megaless. So he's actually finished all of his opposition in the UFC as well. He should probably get a step up at this point. I think he's 27 years old, but he's been fighting for a while. I'd like to see him get the winner of Brunson versus Alvey. Maybe give him like a CB Dalloway type. I mean, Dalloway's come off a loss, so I'd go with Robert Whitaker. He's around that level. Or Rafael Natal, who's coming off that win over Uriah Hall. If they keep Kyle Megaless, he's actually still a prospect. He's not a blue chip prospect by any means. He's not a bad fight. He's not a bad fighter. He can box relatively well. He hits hard. And he has a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, even though he didn't really show it here. And he's just huge for the weight class, too. He can just fight more mid to lower level guys of the division. Next fight after that, Jared Sanders defeated Russell Doane by unanimous decision. This was one of the most infuriating performances I've ever seen. I mean, for all intents and purposes, Russell Doane, really is like the better fighter than Jared Sanders. At this point, is like a wrestler who can grapple a bit. I mean, he was like, it's like he's winning the stand-up, Russell Doane is, and he decides to grapple with Sanders, and it's just like, it's like, dude, the only thing that Sanders can really do is grapple, The other thing I didn't like about Russell Doane is when he was, like, put on his back. I mean, in order to get back to his feet, he'd, like, just clearly give up his back, like, on multiple occasions, It wasn't like Jared Sanders, like, sneakily took the back or anything like that. It was like Russell Doane was, like, giving it to him a lot of times. It was just, like, really, I don't know, there's, like, zero game plan or something from Russell Doane and his team or something. Russell Doane would, like, take Sanders' back. When he had Sanders on his back, he can pass his guard almost at will. He can take him down at times. And then he can also outstrike him. And yet, he still lost. It was just a really bad performance from Russell Doane. I don't know what he was thinking. Jared Sanders, lives to see another day in the UFC, really. Besides being big and able to wrestle, there really isn't much about Sanders' game that particularly impresses me. I hate to be down on the guy. I don't know the guy or anything. It's just from what I've seen, there isn't much to his game. Like, he can grapple. He's a big guy who can grapple, really. But yeah, both guys just more lower level guys of the division. So right after that, Trevor Smith defeated Dan Miller by unanimous decision. I should have, this, in one sense, like, it's one of those, in hindsight, ones I should have picked Trevor Smith. Same with, like, Vicente Luque versus Michael Graves. I was like the egregious picks. Probably even Joshua Kyle Megaless at this point, too. Smith's just a bigger guy. And he pretty much, he's not the better striker, but he can take down Miller and control him, especially since he's the much bigger fighter. Dan was doing relatively well in the stand-up, but once he's put on his back, I think this is one of the biggest problems with the Miller brothers in general. It's that they are way too content to fight off their back. I don't know why, and it's cost them both many times. They don't scramble back to their feet when they're taken down. They do jiu-jitsu off their back when they're put on their back. That kind of cost them here. 30-25s, and even the 30-26. Dan didn't really have much except better stand-up. But once Smith can get a hold of him and take him down, really, it just, Smith could stay on top, land ground and pound all day, Miller definitely looked like a guy who was just undersized for the division. And he's not a guy, if he stays in the UFC and stays in middleweight, he's just not a guy I can see get wins very often. Trevor Smith, he's kind of a surprise. He's just a guy that manages to, like, hang on, you know? Like, they give him a lot of lower level guys, a couple mid level guys, and he can't beat those guys. But then they'll give him some lower level guy, and he'll beat that guy, and he manages to stay in the UFC. You know, he's just good enough to stay in the UFC. And really just give him some, like, yeah, just some lower, really just give him some, like, lower to mid-tier guy of the division. Next fight after that, George Sullivan defeated Dominic Waters by unanimous decision. Yeah, Waters looked pretty good early, and then once Sullivan, I think he cracked him, and then once he got him down and ground and pounded him in the first round, I mean, that was just pretty much all Sullivan after that. Waters looked out on his feet after that first round when he was walking back to the stool. Would have been nice to see a finish from Sullivan, but really, and the story really was like Sullivan being able to take Waters down, get dominant positions at times, ground and pound him, but just couldn't get the finish. Waters seems to have some pretty good athleticism. He took the fight on short notice. Maybe he can get, there's some potential for him, you know. He looked pretty big for the weight class, too, like real rangy, you know. Sullivan, just a total blue-collar fighter, you know. He's the one that cut from the same mold of like a Mike Pierce, Court McGee, Ryan LaFleur, Kenny Robinson. You know, they're not like always the most technical, but they're always working. They're super game, and they force opponents to fight for pretty much like almost the whole 15 minutes. Just you know, he should probably just test more. The great prospect testers, gatekeepers, you know, just give him more, use him for that. George Sullivan should pretty much just be used for that role at this time. With Waters, just more lower to mid-tier guys in the division. And finally, Willie Gates defeated Daryl Montague by TKO in the first round. These guys used to train together, actually, out of millennia. 3 losses in a row from Montague. I believe he got knocked out on like all of them. He's probably going to get cut. Willie Gates lives to see another day in the UFC. You know, he actually hits pretty hard. I believe when he fought Moraga, he managed to crack him at 1 point or 1 or 2 points during the fight. And, you know, he's good enough to have some staying power in the UFC, I suppose. That's all I can really say, though. Just more lower to mid-tier guys in the division for him. So that's it for my post-fight analysis for the Ultimate Fighter Finale 21. Or Ultimate Fighter 21 Finale, excuse me. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for You. Thank you guys very much.